Exposure to workplace hazards is a major threat to workers' health and safety. Monitoring instruments are used to identify the hazards and the worker's exposure level.
Understand these instruments, understand how they work and why they work and what the people are trying to do with them, and involve yourself in this instrumentation so that you can understand indeed that you're being protected as you need to be. You cannot put your safety in someone else's hands.
Accurate monitoring is necessary to determine if engineering controls are needed, select PPE, determine where protection is needed, analyze health effects, determine medical monitoring, and select and maintain controls. The most important reason for air monitoring is to gather initial information about the site before any work begins. Before entering a confined space or low-lying area, for example, air monitoring identifies hazardous conditions, especially those that are immediately dangerous to life or health. Periodically during work processes, sampling is performed in areas where a contaminant is or is suspected to be, in worker areas and at perimeters. In this way, general on-site monitoring protects workers and the public. There are several different types of monitors. Monitoring instruments detect and measure a variety of potential hazards, such as chemicals, particulates, gases in the air, radiation, microwaves, or noise. For example, gas monitors detect the presence of toxic atmospheres, oxygen levels, and explosive limits. Flame ionization detectors monitor many organic gases and vapors. Photoionization detectors monitor many organic and some inorganic gases and vapors. Personal air sampling pumps and personal monitors are used to measure exposure to hazards within your breathing zone or your specific work area. There are two ways to identify and measure the exact location and concentration of airborne contaminants: direct reading instruments and laboratory analysis. Direct reading instruments, developed as early warning devices, provide information at the time of sampling. Because they can quickly detect flammable or explosive atmospheres, oxygen deficiencies, specific gases or vapors, and ionizing radiation, direct reading instruments allow for quick decision-making. They are the main tools for initial site surveys as well as site monitoring during ongoing work, where conditions may change suddenly from non-hazardous to hazardous. Unfortunately, direct reading instruments detect only specific contaminants and are rarely sensitive enough to measure smaller yet still hazardous concentrations. Laboratory analysis tests long-term or full-shift air samples. To avoid long delays in getting results, mobile laboratories may be brought on site. Gas chromatographs, spectrophotometers, and infrared spectrophotometers can quickly identify chemicals and concentrations of airborne contaminants. The right instrument must be used to measure exposure to each specific hazard. No one single instrument will analyze everything with the desired accuracy, and not all instruments are appropriate in every case. Only proper training can help you select the correct instruments and procedures to monitor exposures at your particular work site. And always be sure that monitoring equipment is properly calibrated and maintained in order to give accurate results.
We had several hundred barrels to remove. And in the process, when we pulled these barrels out of the ground, a couple of them came out of the ground oozing some chemicals. The site safety officer sent out a technician with the monitoring instrument in his hand. He was fiddling with the machine a little bit, and he gave me thumbs up, go ahead, everything is fine. And I questioned whether or not indeed he had done some of the procedures properly. And I got down out of the excavator and walked over to this fence. At that point, he backed away from me. He didn't want anything to do with me or me to see this instrument. So I got on the radio and called the safety officer again and made an issue out of it. What had happened is this fellow was as such pressed for time or had other duties that he came out without a battery in this machine. And so the machine is not going to operate at all. It wouldn't even, the lights, the bells, the whistles, nothing would come on. And yet he was telling us it was perfectly safe, go ahead and operate. The workers indeed have the ultimate responsibility to assure that they are doing the things that they need to protect themselves. There's a need to be involved. It's your own thing to protect yourself.